Chen Jiwei, my father, was so desperate that he poured gasoline on my mother and then set her on fire. He must be sentenced to death. He owes my mother justice. I request the court to sentence Chen Jiwei to death to give my mother justice." The young man speaking these words is named Chen Changyu, and the man he is accusing is his biological father, Chen Jiwei. For a son to take his own father to court and even demand the death penalty speaks volumes of the deep hatred and grievance between them. The story begins in the Chinese New Year of 2021. Chen Changyu, 21 years old, and having worked away from home since he was 15, returned to his family home in Kunming, Yunnan Province, to celebrate the New Year with his mother at his grandmother's house. On New Year's Eve, while celebrating joyously, Chen Changyu's father, Chen Jiwei, arrived drunk with some friends, causing a scene at the grandmother's house and insisting Chen Changyu and his wife Yu Xiuying come back home with him. What was supposed to be a joyous occasion turned into a disaster. After the New Year, Chen Changyu returned to the city to work, and Yu Xiuying went back to her home. However, tragedy struck on March 14th. Chen Jiwei returned home with a dark expression, took off his dirty clothes in the living room, and shook them out. Yu Xiuying, upon seeing this, muttered a few words of complaint, which ignited Chen Jiwei's rage. He began to beat her. Yu Xiuying, accustomed to her husband's behavior, didn't want to argue too much and silently endured until bedtime. Finding it too cold to sleep on the couch at night, Yu Xiuying got up to fetch a blanket from the bedroom. At that moment, Chen Jiwei silently went to the yard and returned with a bucket of gasoline, which he began to spread around the house. When Yu Xiuying tried to stop him, he pushed her to the ground, soaking her in gasoline. Then, he ignited the fire, and the room burst into flames, setting Yu Xiuying ablaze due to the gasoline on her. Neighbors, seeing the fire at the Chen's house, quickly called the fire department and emergency services. Yu Xiuying was rushed to the hospital, where doctors managed to save her life, but she suffered burns over 55% of her body, leaving her in a critical condition. Upon receiving the call, Chen Changyu immediately went to the hospital. Seeing his mother wrapped in gauze and moaning in pain, he couldn't help but cry. Ignoring his family's attempts to dissuade him, he resolutely called the police, demanding they punish his father, Chen Jiwei. This March, my father poured gasoline on my mother and set her on fire, causing burns over 55% of her body. When I arrived at the hospital, I could hardly recognize her. My mother was severely injured and on the brink of death due to my father's domestic violence and arson. After learning of the incident, I reported my father to the police, asking the court to sentence him to death to give my mother justice. The police, upon receiving Chen Changyu's call, went to the hospital to assess the situation, as Yu Xiuying was in critical condition and unconscious. When questioned, the monstrous man, Chen Jiwei, denied everything and even claimed it was Yu Xiuying who tried to burn him. He said the gasoline was poured by Yu Xiuying and that the fire was accidentally started in the chaos of their struggle. With no surveillance at the scene and no third-party witnesses, the police's investigation hit a dead end. Chen Changyu wasn't surprised by his father's denial, having harbored deep resentment towards him for a long time. Before Yu Xiuying married Chen Jiwei, her family had already arranged a marriage for her. However, Chen Jiwei met Yu Xiuying by chance and relentlessly pursued her, despite her family's disapproval, considering him a ruffian. Against her family's wishes, Chen Jiwei forcibly took Yu Xiuying back to his home. Given the importance of reputation in rural areas, Yu Xiuying had no choice but to marry him, and they had Chen Changyu. Just 2 months after Chen Changyu was born, Chen Jiwei was sentenced to 10 years in prison for robbery. During those 10 years, Yu Xiuying raised Chen Changyu alone, enduring much hardship. Shortly after his release, Chen Jiwei was imprisoned again for 3 years for another crime. Thus, Chen Changyu's memories are filled with him and his mother, Yu Xiuying, relying solely on each other. Yu Xiuying's life turned into a living hell after Chen Jiwei's release from prison, enduring daily domestic violence on top of her household duties. Whenever Chen Jiwei drank too much, he would brutally beat Yu Shuying and Chen Changyu. Yu Shuying bore the brunt of his violence to protect her son, with one incident landing her in the hospital. Chen Changyu first tried calling the police, but they dismissed it as a domestic issue that needed to be resolved within the family. Chen Changyu repeatedly suggested divorce to his mother, fearing for the safety of their elderly family members if he left and the stigma of divorce in rural communities. Despite the broken marriage, Yu Shuying persevered, leading Chen Changyu to regret not being more resolute in leaving with his mother. The day after Chen Changyu reported the incident, Yu Shuying woke up, and despite her pain, recorded a video stating her husband intended to burn her alive. Faced with evidence, Chen Jiwei had to admit his guilt, claiming he didn't want to live anymore, which infuriated Chen Changyu further, as his mother was the one who suffered. After 4 months of painful treatment, Yu Shuying eventually died from her injuries. Grieving the loss of his mother, Chen Changyu vowed to ensure his father faced legal punishment. The court initially heard the case on July 21, 2022, but Chen Jiwei changed his story in court, claiming he was the victim and even demanded compensation from Chen Changyu. Refusing to admit guilt, the court had to adjourn, leaving Chen Jiwei in a prolonged period of uncertainty. Despite multiple messages asking Chen Changyu to visit him in police custody, Chen Changyu remained unmoved. Finally, on December 16th, the court sentenced Chen Jiwei to death for intentional homicide. Chen Jiwei protested and demanded an appeal upon hearing the verdict. Chen Changyu's first action was to inform his mother, Yu Shuying, of the outcome, determined to see justice served regardless of the appeals process. Chen Changyu decided not to bury his mother until the executioner was brought to justice. However, this decision faced criticism from Chen Jiwei's relatives, accusing Chen Changyu of being unfilial for sending his only remaining parent to prison. Chen Changyu's deaf-mute grandmother also expressed her disappointment in his decision to take legal action against his father. Neighbors advised Chen Changyu to settle the matter quietly and focus on Yu Shuying's funeral arrangements, but he ignored them, remembering their silence during Yu Shuying's abuse. None of Chen's relatives visited Yu Shuying in the hospital or offered financial support. Now, as they attempt to mediate, Chen Changyu remains focused on his single wish for the court to sentence Chen Jiwei to death, seeking one life for another.